morning. You know, I hope all of you saw the Belmont on Saturday, and you know how the post-parade, there's this long era that drags on before they finally get into the gate and the race starts. And that's how I've been feeling here the last 15, 20 minutes. Now, normally, when people ask me to make opening remarks at a conference, you know, I look at the agenda and I, read the titles of the papers, or maybe there are abstracts of the papers, and note who the speakers are, and figure out what I'm going to say that will sound relevant to the conference. I think this time I may be reduced to the Ig Nobel Prize welcome, welcome speech, which is always the same, welcome, welcome. But, I looked at the website, and the agenda is there as an image in 4 different pieces. It's like some porn site where they want to show you a picture of a woman, but you don't want to be able to copy it. And until you pay, of course. So I figure, get here to the conference, people have paid, they'll really give you the agenda. Yeah, they gave me the agenda. But not a bright enough light that I could read it by. So I'm going to have to go on the title alone, but the title is very exciting, right? So this is a crypto development conference. Now, my assessment of the role of cryptography in information security is that it is the best cooked part of the subject. Right? It works better than any of the other things. That's not to say it works perfectly, but it works better. But that doesn't mean there isn't a lot to be done in development of both the cryptographic algorithms, because interestingly, already only, not quite 15 years into the establishment of a standard set of algorithms, they're nonetheless fluttering around, they aren't all used, people use other things, etc. And new demands have appeared. So there really are so you're talking about crypto development, there are really 2 things that you can be thinking about. And the first is the development of new cryptographic algorithms to meet new requirements, and I'm going to say a little bit about that. And the second is the implementation of those cryptographic algorithms in such a way as to avoid the danger of their being broken, not by attacking the crypto mathematics, which is the really, it's the famous thing that keeps mathematicians so well employed at NSA, but by attacking the implementations, which is really what gets people intelligence out of encrypted channels. So, as I say, we're in a period where about 15 years, and this is a US-centric point of view, although I can give analogous things throughout the world. In the US, in about 2003 to 2005, the National Security Agency, which is the best funded federal agency responsible for cryptography, enunciated a so-called Suite B of algorithms. And Suite A is some bunch of secret algorithms they were using before. They enunciated the Suite B of algorithms, which are very different in the sense that they're all public. They're mostly NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, public standard cryptographic algorithms. And they have a bit better claim to worldwideness than they might. I mean, the little gem in this thing is called the Advanced Encryption Standard, and it was developed in Belgium. And the US may be, for all the many faults you may be especially aware of these days, the US is more international in some respects than a lot of people, and it adopted as its own national standard a Belgian-designed cryptographic algorithm. And together with this, there are a number of things from second-generation public key cryptography, and if you don't know what that is, there's another conference down the hall that called elliptic curve cryptography, and then there are a couple of hash functions for making up message digests that are inseparable, small things, inseparable from large messages. But as I say, only some 15 years into the adoption of these standards, and there are some parallel ones in China. Analogous things are called SM, this, that, and the other. I remember SM4 is the symmetric algorithm analogous to the advanced encryption standard. I don't remember the numbers for the others, but the same functions are supported in standards setups throughout the world, and much the same concepts. But three things have come up that have widened and opened up the development of cryptographic algorithms again. It's really an amazing field, and if you paying attention, you discover, oddly, it keeps growing even though it looked as though it had committed the dreadful sin of solving its problems, which might have put us out of work, but we managed to invent new problems, so we still have our jobs. The most biting one, probably, is the danger of what is called quantum computing. So quantum computing is a vastly parallel form of computing, and it's done by what are called qubits, quantum bits, which aren't 0 or 1. There's some probability of where they are between probability distribution of the values between 0 and 1, and they sort of all sit there and think in parallel, and then they converge on something. And so far, nobody can build a quantum computer of any significant size, but the physicists keep promising us that they're going to, and the big companies seem to believe the physicists because Intel and Microsoft and Google and IBM have all put a lot of money into this. And if quantum computing comes along, well, it will change all of civilization. That might be nice. But it will, in particular, destroy the generation of public key cryptographic systems that I and my colleagues began in the 70s and that came to a new frontier with elliptic curves in the late 80s. And something called Shor's algorithm just, eats those things right up. So there are major projects now. One big direction in cryptographic research is what are called quantum-resistant or quantum computing-resistant algorithms, and there's a major project on this at NIST. There are several ways of doing it. It's likely to be more expensive than the way we do these things now. So I don't know which way to bet or which way to hope, but that's the first item. The second one is a beguiling opportunity. It's called homomorphic encryption. And the notion is this, people frequently use, public programs that are basically public. I mean, they might be open source, but nobody's really trying to keep them secret. The way they're trying to keep secret the data the programs compute on. So you imagine you have you're trying to manipulate the stocks or flash trade or whatever, and you have very secret stock data, or you're the military and you have secret weapons data, whatever it is, and you need to send them off to somebody in the cloud to compute on them. And that presents a problem because you don't trust the cloud, right? You don't know who those people are. You might trust them to do your computing, but you don't want them to know what the data are. And so the fantasy, and it's actually a good bit better than that these days, of homomorphic as encryption is that you send them a cryptogram and they can't read it, but they can compute on it. And after a while, they come up with the answer, and they don't understand the answer. They can't read that either, but they send it back to you, and you can read it. Right? And you pay your bill, and you're happy, and all of that. And that has amazingly been done. It can't be done in general yet. I don't know what its prospects are for a general-purpose cloud security tool, but it has been done an amazing example of what's called a black conference bridge. So you can imagine a distributed voice multi-person conference that has no central place that's sensitive, that's doing the voice mixing. The final thing, of course, and the thing that has probably drew most people here and is drawing the most of the activity in current cryptography and crypto-related things are blockchains. Bitcoin and its successors and the attempt to scale out blockchain systems in such a way as to get the same properties that Bitcoin's offering you and not have to spend a vast amount of electricity doing the computing. And I think we'll probably hear lots about that today, so I won't elaborate on it. Let me just say that I think that as a practical matter, the other side of cryptographic development is at least as important, and that is the development of the methods by which you implement cryptographic systems. Because right now there's sort of two possibilities. There is a known methodology for implementing cryptographic algorithms in hardware in such a way that it's very, very hard to break them. And the two real elements of this are, one, what is called the cryptographic boundary. You're very careful to build everything in effect in one package. It is surrounded by a boundary, and you keep all of the computing capability in the same package with the keys that you use to control the encryption. The other point has to do with reliability. It's an odd sort of reliability. You don't want things to fail gracefully. You want them either to do exactly what you wanted them to do or to stop dead in their tracks and transmit nothing. And you put those two elements together, you can get very secure implementations of cryptography. But that is very difficult to do on the current kind of computing platforms, because it is much, much cheaper to compute your cryptography in software, but then it's very, very hard to get comparable benefits of either the cryptographic boundary. It's probably a little easier to get the reliability characteristics. So I think that represents a tremendous opportunity for cryptographic development, and I hope some other people think so too, and that we will hear something about that in the next 2 days. So let me say you again, welcome, welcome, and let's hope this is going to be a great conference. Thank you.